Today's video is going to be the third part of my little colour mixing series. Part 1 was mixing my blues and yellows. Part 2 was mixing my reds and blues. So in this one I'm going to finish the series by mixing my reds and yellows. Just like in the previous videos, this is not a tutorial or search for the most saturated orange, just a fun exercise exploring the reds and yellows I own and seeing what mixes I get. Okay, so along the top are all the reds I'm going to use. There's Rembrandt Cadmium Red Medium, PR108, Mugello Permanent Red Deep, PR254, Van Gogh Madder Lake Deep, PR264, Mugello Rose Madder, PR176, Van Gogh Quinacridone Rose, PV19, Rembrandt Indian Red, PR101 and PR264, and Mugello Red Brown, PBR25. And now the yellows down the side. You've got Van Gogh Azomethine Green Yellow, which is PY129, Mugello Lemon Yellow, PY3, Rembrandt Cadmium Yellow Lemon, PY35, Mugello Permanent Yellow Deep, which is PY65, Holbein Quinacridone Gold, PO48 and PY150, Rembrandt Yellow Ochre, which is PY43 and PY42, and finally Rembrandt Raw Umber, which is PBR7. Okay, so that's all the reds and yellows painted out. We have a selection of warm and cool reds, warm and cool yellows, and a couple of earth reds and earth yellows. Just like in the previous two videos, there's nothing scientific about the mixing. There's no set ratios or anything like that. I'm just going to mix each red with each yellow and see what comes out. So, let's get started. First, I'm going to start by mixing the Van Gogh Azomethine Green Yellow with each of the reds. Now I'll mix the Mugello Lemon Yellow with each red. Now the Rembrandt Cadmium Yellow Lemon. Now moving on to the warm yellows with the Mugello Permanent Yellow Deep. Now moving on to the Holbein Quinacridone Gold. Now onto the earth yellows with Rembrandt Yellow Ochre. And finally we've got Rembrandt Raw Umber. This raw umber is a lot more yellow than some other brands. Sadly it's been discontinued though by Rembrandt and it's replaced with a greenish raw umber. Okay, that's all the reds and yellows painted out. And here they are in daylight when completely dry. I really like the range of oranges and browns I've got here. In theory, to get the cleanest, most saturated orange, you would mix your warmest, most orange-leaning yellow with your warmest, most orange-leaning red. So in this case, it would be the permanent yellow deep and the cadmium red medium, though I painted it a bit weak on this chart. Personally, I'm much more interested in the more neutralised mixes. I especially love all the mixes with the Quinacridone gold. What do you do for an orange on your palette? Do you use an orange pigment or do you mix one from your reds and yellows? I don't tend to have an orange pigment on my palette. I do own a couple though. I have the Schmincke Horodam Transparent Orange and Magello's Orange. They're both pretty nice and maybe I should use them, but at the moment I just use Burnt Sienna as my orange. Okay, so that's the end of my little series exploring my reds, yellows and blues. One of the reasons I wanted to do this was that I'm planning on changing my landscape palette. I'm thinking of expanding from my usual 9 colours to 13 maybe, and trying to end my over-reliance on earth pigments. I know it's hardly a huge thing adding 4 more pigments to a palette, but I really do want to change most of the pigments in my palette and just to see how it will affect my painting. I guess the obvious way to go would be 3 yellows, 3 reds, 3 blues, 3 earths, and then 1 other colour, but I'll have to see what I like best. What would your ideal 12 colour palette be? So any recommendations you have would be much appreciated. And as usual, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye bye.